Welcome back to Easy Pass tutorial. I want to tell you that if you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, you have more to gain. We are going to continue on the topic, which is cytology. In the past class, we discussed what cytology is all about, the types of cell, and also some scientists that contributed to the discovery of cell. And we also mentioned the theory, or we stated the theory of cell. But for the class of today, we'll be looking at the types of eukaryotic cell. Types of eukaryotic cells. There are two types of eukaryotic cells, namely the plant cell and the animal cell. Plant cell and animal cell. All cells have some compartments, some things in them that enable them to function very well, and these things are referred to as organelles. The word organelles, if you look at it very well, if it is broken down to the root word, you will understand that we have organ, then the nails. The organ, just like we have in human beings, the organs that help carry out one or two functions, and also one or two functions in human being. Likewise, in cell, there are smaller organs which are called organelles, and these organelles, they carry out different functions, and I'll be mentioning some of these organelles and their functions as we move on. The first one I will mention is called the nucleus. Nucleus is like the brain to every vertebrate organism. The nucleus is at the center of the cell, and it controls all the activities of the cell. The nucleus controls all the activities of the cell. The nucleus on its own forms a major part of the cell. Nucleus has some parts. In the nucleus, we have what we call the nucleolus, which sometimes I will term as the nucleus of the nucleus. The nucleolus is the most darkly stained part of the nucleus, and it is actually responsible for the assemblage of ribosome, which is assemblage of ribosome from ribosomal RNA. Ribosomal RNA is one of the type of RNA that is present in the cell. We have two types of RNA. We have the ribosomal RNA, which forms about 90% of the ribosome. We also have the transfer RNA, which is used for translation. Then we have the messenger RNA, which is used for transcription. All those ones will be discussed in the course of the later in subsequent topics. Aside from the nucleolus that is present in the nucleus, we also have the genetic material, which is the DNA, or sometimes could be RNA, could also be a form of chromosome. Chromosome on its own is a combination of nucleic acid and certain proteins. Nucleic acid and certain proteins. So in a layman's way, in the nucleus, I've mentioned two parts now. One, the nucleolus. Number two, the nucleic acid or the chromosomes. Number three thing that is present in the nucleus is the cytosol, a kind of cytosol known as karyoplasm. Karyoplasm or nucleoplasm. Karyoplasm or nucleoplasm. Karyoplasm is the cytosol present in the nucleus. The cytosol that is present in the nucleus, the plasma material that is present in the nucleus. Aside from these three, we also have floating ribosomes that have been produced from the nucleus, floating within the karyoplasm. Now, the study of the nucleus itself is known as karyology, and it is taken from the word karyoplasm. Karyology is the study of nucleus itself, and it is taken from the word karyoplasm. And I've said earlier that karyoplasm is the cytosol that is present in the nucleus. The nucleus itself has a membrane, and the membrane is double membrane. That is why we earlier said that for eukaryotic cells, they are unique because they have nuclear membrane. This makes it unique or different from prokaryotic cells that has nuclear region without nuclear membrane. Nuclear region without nuclear membrane. But for the eukaryotic cells, which we gave two major examples, the plant and animal cells, they possess nuclear envelope or nuclear membrane. As I've earlier said, the nucleus controls all the activities of the cell and also helps in storing genetic materials, which is actually DNA or RNA. Other advanced function of the nucleus, it helps in the assemblage of ribosome from ribosomal RNA or rRNA, as the case may be. The second organelle I'll be introducing to you today is cell membrane. Cell membrane. The cell membrane was actually proposed. The theory or the generally accepted structure of cell membrane is the one proposed by Singer and Nicholson, where they describe cell membrane as a fluid mosaic material. That the cell membrane is not actually a solid material, but a fluid having an uneven distribution of materials such as protein, cytocallis, and other substances like cholesterol and proteins, as I earlier mentioned. So the cell membrane has a unique structure which we call the mycelium, and the cell membrane itself is made up of two phospholipid layers. Each of these layers is made up of what we call the phospholipid group. The phospholipid group, as the name implies, phospho, the phosphate group, and the lipid, the hydrocarbon group. The phospholipid group. The phosphate group is actually hydrophilic. The word hydrophilic means water loving. Hydrophilic, water loving. And we have the hydrocarbon part, which is the lipid part, is actually hydrophobic, water hating part or water fearing part. It does not combine with water. So for every cell membrane, we have two layers of phospholipid. Two layers of phospholipids, and these layers of phospholipids are made up of monomers of phospholipid. Let me continue with this. The phospholipid has what we call a structure of head and tails. Just let me give you in this format: head and tails. Head and tails. The head region is actually the phosphate group. Phosphate group. While the tail region is a lipid or the hydrocarbon group. The phosphate group, which is the water-loving part of this phospholipid, is always tending towards the water environment, while the lipid part is actually moving away from the lipid environment. The cell membrane has uneven distribution of proteins. Glycocalyx. The word glycocalyx is actually glycogen and protein, or glycogen and lipid. Glycocalyx unevenly distributed around or within the phospholipid layers. Now, the cell membrane has major functions in the cell. Aside from the fact that the cell membrane separates the cell internal environment, which is the protoplasm, from the external environment, that is, give a compartment to the protoplasm. The cell membrane also acts as a selective permeable membrane, allowing materials to move in and out of the cell. allowing material to move in and out of the cell. So the cell membrane is a selectively permeable membrane that will allow materials to move in and out of the cell. The cell membrane is very, very important in the cell. Once it is off, then that cell loses its integrity. Once the cell membrane is dead, then the cell, the integrity of the cell is actually lost, and that cell will definitely die. Aside from controlling the movement of material in and out of the cell membrane also gives cell its recognition. It gives cells its recognition, allowing cells of the same identity to combine. Just to mention a few of the functions of the cell membrane. Let me go through again. Cell membrane helps in giving compartments for the cell internal environment. The cell membrane also controls the movement of materials in and out of the cell. The cell membrane also helps the cell to have its identity, gives cell its recognition. Now, the next two organelles I'll be mentioning, they are actually known as energy converters, and they are mitochondrion and chloroplast. Mitochondrion and chloroplast. So mitochondrion in the plural form will become mitochondria. Mitochondria. The R-I-O-N will be changed to R-I-A, as the case may be. Now, they are referred to as energy converters, and they are also referred to as organelles that follow a special pattern, which is known as that follows a special pattern, and scientists believe that they were formerly organisms that found their ways into a living cell and started living a symbiotic form of life. Now, this mitochondrion and chloroplast, they undergo a kind of theory which is known as endosymbiont theory. Endosymbiont theory. Symbiont theory. The word endo means inside. Symbiont means a relationship between two organisms in which both of them are benefiting from each other. Endosymbiont theory. Both organisms or both things involved are benefiting from each other. So scientists believe that they follow suit this particular theory, and this theory stated and with this theory we can actually confirm or support the theory that mitochondria and chloroplast were formerly organisms living a separate life but found their ways into living cells and started living a symbiotic life in eukaryotic cells. This theory one, mitochondrion and chloroplast, both are organelles with double membranes. All other organelles in the cell are of a single membrane, but mitochondrion and chloroplast both are having double membrane. Number two, these two organelles are capable of dividing or replicating even when the host cell is not dividing. When the host cell is not dividing, these two cells are capable of dividing or replicating, making them a self-replicating organelles within a cell. Then the third one, making them self-replicating organelles within the cell. The third reason why they are classed as organisms that found their way living a symbiotic life in a living cell is that they possess their own RNA and DNA. They both possess circular DNA like the prokaryotic cells. They both possess circular DNA like the prokaryotic cell. Now let's go back to the mitochondrion. Mitochondrion on its own has two membranes, as I've been said, the outer and the inner membrane. The inner membrane is folded to form crystal. And the major function of mitochondrion is just to generate energy in form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. What's the function of ATP? ATP is the fuel used by all living organisms to carry out their function. everything requiring energy in living organism is actually propelled or enabled by ATP. When we are treating the topic respiration, we get to know more about that. Then we have the chloroplast. The chloroplast has double membrane, as I have earlier said too, and the chloroplast is actually having two main parts. The two parts of the chloroplast are the thylakoid and the thylakoid system and the stromal system. The thylakoid system and the stromal system. The thylakoid is like the solid part which is made up of grana, while the stromal system is actually made up of the jelly part. The solid part, which is the grana, that is where the light stage reaction or photosynthesis occur, or I can say the grana helps to attract or capture light energy for the process of photolysis of water. The major function of chloroplast is to aid photosynthesis. Although we have other functions of chloroplast which are for pigmentation, to give color to the plant, and also to store energy. These are some other functions of the chloroplast, and it is predominant in plant cell. The other organelle that we have on the board is the vacuole. The vacuole is actually a storage organ. It's for storage, and we have two types of vacuole. We have the food vacuole, we have the contractile vacuole. The food vacuole just stores food, while the contractile vacuole helps in osmoregulation. It helps in osmoregulation, water-salt balance. In our plant cell, the vacuole seems to be very large and one or two in number. Very large, one or two in number. While in animal cell, we have numerous tiny vacuoles, if they will be present. Then we have the Golgi complex. The Golgi complex is referred to as the shipping center of the cell. It is a place where the materials in the cells are packaged, modified and packaged for external use or internal use. The Golgi complex helps to package material and or modify them in some cases for internal or external use. So some materials are packaged by the Golgi complex to be used outside the cell, and they can be stored in small vesicles. The next organelle that we have on the body is lysosome. Lysosome, if you look at the word lysosome, is actually from the word lysis. Lysis in biology generally means to break down. So lysosome is a small vesicle containing hydrolytic enzymes. Hydrolytic enzymes that helps in breaking down materials. Also, these enzymes could also help in breaking down the cell itself. To break down the cell itself, and hence lysosome is sometimes referred to as the suicide bag within the cell. It could break down the cell, or it could help in breaking down other substances for recycling within the cell. Some scientists believe that Golgi complex actually form the lysosome because it is a small vesicle containing hydrolytic enzyme. Then the next organelle that we have is the cell wall. The cell wall is predominant in animals, in plant cell. Animal cells don't have cell wall, only plant cells have cell wall. This cell wall gives rigidity, protection to plant cell, and it also helps the plant cell to develop what is called turgor pressure, because whenever there is endosmosis, a lot of water flows into the vacuole, and there is a kind of pressure developed as the water presses towards the wall of the cell. Then the next organelle that we have is cytoskeleton. Cytoskeleton is actually a network of fibrils or fibers that help to keep the cell in shape. We have three main types of material making up this cytoskeleton. We have the microtubule, microfilaments, and intermediate filaments. Microtubules, microfilaments, and intermediate filaments. So the microtubules, they have larger size, and they are the ones that forms the centrioles. They form the centrioles, and they also create pathways within the cell. The microfilaments. The microfilament are the smallest form of cytoskeletal material, and what they are meant for is to create the help in forming the pseudo fruit or pseudo fruit in some cells. Take for instance cells like the white blood cell and memory cell. They don't have feed, but they have what first fruit, which is a pseudopodium. This pseudopodium is actually developed through the microfilament, and the third one that I mentioned is intermediate filament. The intermediate filament help to form a kind of cage around the nucleus of cell for protection. The centriole is one of the products of the assemblage of cytoskeleton, and it helps in cell division in plant cell. Now, just before I stop or conclude the class of today on cell organelles and their function, I want you to know that the nucleus, have been mentioned, is not in all cells. There are some cells, once they move to maturity, they will give away their nucleus. Example is the red blood cell. They don't have nucleus at maturity. There are some cells that have more than one nucleus, binucleated, like the cell of paramecium. Paramecium has two nuclei. The first one is macronucleus, and the other one is micronucleus. The macronucleus controls all the activities of the cell except reproduction, while the micronucleus controls only the reproduction activities in the cell. Then I want to end the class by saying, in cells generally, we have definite shape. Plant cell has rigid shape and a definite shape because of its cell wall. The cell wall of plant gives it a polygonal shape, and this is drawn and can be seen on the board. And some organelles can also be seen labeled on the board. We have the mitochondrion, we have the chloroplast, we have the Golgi complex, we have the rough endoplasmic reticulum, we have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, we have the cell wall, we have the cell membrane, we have the large vacuole. These are parts, some of the organelles present in the cell. In the list of my cell organelles, I actually skipped the rough endoplasmic and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum is actually a network of membrane that creates pathway for materials in the cell. Aside from that, they have specific function like modifying materials and also producing some steroid. The rough endoplasmic reticulum, which is represented with RER, actually is actually referred to as rough because it has some ribosomes present on its surface, making it rough. While the smooth endoplasmic reticulum is not having any ribosome on its surface. So the rough endoplasmic reticulum is actually forming a continuum with the nuclear membrane, and the major function is to produce or to release material that are rich in protein, since ribosome is an organelle for protein synthesis. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum produces materials that are rich in steroid and also help in carbohydrates metabolism, also help in poison detoxification. Now, for the plant cell, this is the plant cell. For the animal cell does not have a definite shape. Sometimes you say it has a amoeba shape, some will say it has circular shape. Because it does not have cell wall, it can take different shape. For this reason, we have this shape for plants, for animal cell. And the major part of the animal cells, just as we have mentioned, are the mitochondrion, mitochondrion, which I said is actually for generation of ATP. Then we have the nucleus. Very close or continue with the nucleus is the rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then beneath we have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Other parts that you see in the animal cells are, you will find also the centriole. You will find also, Golgi complex. Some will say Golgi apparatus. Some will also say Golgi complex. As the case may be, you find this Golgi complex or Golgi apparatus. Then we have other organelles like vacuole, if present, it will be very, very small. We have also lysosome. Lysosome, there are small vesicles. Lysosome. Don't forget, I said the lysosome is for breaking down. It contains enzymes that helps in breaking down material. Then we also have centriole. I mentioned centriole. Now, to end the class for today, I'm going to give differences between plants and animal cells. Number one, there is presence of cell wall in plant cell. While in animal cell wall is absent. Now, number two, I'll be picking chloroplast. Chloroplast is present in plant cell while absent in animal cell. Absent in animal cell. Now, number three, plant cell possesses definite or hexagonal shape, while the other side, no definite shape. Then number four, I go to look at centriole. Centriole is absent. Centriole is absent in plant cell. Centriole is present. Is present in animal cell. Let's look for one more, number five. This particular one is controversial, although WAEC has actually marked it, and I want to believe we follow suit, because some scientists believe that vacuole is that a lysosome is only present in animal cell, not present in plant cell, but it is present in both, but more pronounced in animal cell. So we'll just give it as one of the differences also. In plant cell, lysosome is absent, while in animal cell, lysosome is present. Finally, vacuole present, and usually one large vacuole. The other side for vacuole, that's number 6. Vacuole is absent, but if present are numerous and small in size. Put it like that. So those are major differences between plant and animal cells. So we look at the similarities now. To give the similarities, you can go in a very simple way and just list them out. So the similarities are: one, both have nucleus. That's one. They both have nucleus. Number two, they both have cell membrane. Cell membrane. So I'll list other things that they have in common. Number three, they both have ribosome. Ribosome, mitochondrion, cytoplasm, Golgi complex, and they both have nucleus. Let me end you. In the next class, we shall be looking at some typical life questions from WAEC. Thank you.